humplings in the hump will be glad they are not dregs, just like in Brave New World, glad I'm not a gamma, glad I'm not an epsilon, and therefore will do as the masters require in order to stay in the hump. And the whole inchworm kind of moves forward slowly, the masters first, building and directing, and the humplings inside. Well, all of us are humplings some of the time, but some are humplings all of the time. And you want to be able to understand that the humplings don't know when they are humplings, that they are. So this raises really challenging questions. It's not your behavior as a hacker that causes trouble. It's your perceived allegiance. Because the people I have known, and as you know, and some of you are at NSA and CIA and DIA and so on, you are doing exactly the same things. You all know how it works, I think, at a particular level. We all know people who have been about to reveal a vulnerability and have gotten a call telling them not to reveal it because, for example, that this or that intelligence agency finds it too useful. These days, post-revelation and post-leaking, people know a lot more about that than they did, but some of you have known about that for a long time. The very same tools and techniques used in excellent expert hacking are used in intelligence and counterintelligence. The difference is on whose behalf are you not doing it, because that's a whole other question, but perceived to be doing it. Who owns your soul? You or someone else? And if it is someone else, who is it? So, by simply engaging with the new technologies that are emerging, we become different. We think differently, and when we act differently on behalf of what the technologies themselves teach us, we do things that were literally unthinkable before. Well, where is thinking taking place? We still have the illusion that we are individuals, that is, monads, isolated cells of brains. And Marvin Minsky said decades ago, no, the thinking is taking place on the network. It is a collective, a collaboratory, a hive mind. And anyone who still thinks only independently without being connected to others in the network, they're a brain in a bottle. They're like a desktop computer on a table disconnected from the network. They are not really capable of being said to be thinking at all, because thinking requires the collaboratory, fast feedback, and I'll get to those other hallmarks that make hacking at its most potent, so engaging. I'm going to skip the next thing with a delightful story, but we'll skip it. Because I'm going back to when I started all this, and truthfully, I saw what was coming back in the 80s, and I start writing about it in the 80s and in the early 90s. And back then, I was a clergyman, which I left 27 years ago in order to participate in this revolution, which I realized was being ignored, and I would have suffocated had I taken the jobs that were being offered to me. I had to get out. And I wrote things about the transformation of experience and the transformation of religious experience coming down the line as a result of the digital revolution I perceived to be taking place. And this was before, you understand, before the quote internet, before the word cyberspace leaped out of neuromancer into common parlance. I went to an editors and publishers conference, newspaper and magazine publishers, and said, you should know what's coming. You're going to be totally uprooted and turned over on your heads. And I was told uniformly, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. We've been in this industry for 40 or 50 years. We know the industry. And I said, that industry is done. It's dead because something new is coming, which is going to transform it. As it happens, I learned that in those situations, when you are perceiving correctly, to be called crazy is a sign of wisdom. Wisdom and insanity are contextual. And if you say the right thing at the wrong time, you are perceived to be nuts, like poor Semmelweis, right? You know, he said, we can eliminate sepsis in surgery, which is killing so many people, if doctors would only wash their hands. But they couldn't think why, because they didn't have a notion of germs when he said it. And the ridicule poured on him for being correct was so intense that he wound up in a mental institution. He became so angry and so upset by the inability of doctors to learn from what he was trying to tell them and save so many thousands of lives. And paradoxically, he died of sepsis in that mental institution after surgery. But nobody could hear him. Nobody could hear what he was saying. Remember what Langdon Winter said, again, many years ago, to invent a new technology requires society to invent the kinds of people who will use it, and all of our new practices, relationships, and identities will supplant the old. In case after case, the move to computerize and digitize means pre-existing cultural forms will go liquid. If I had an ice cube, I would hold it up and you could watch it drip through my fingers. Go liquid, losing their former shape as they are retailored for computerized expression. The new patterns solidify and both useful
That just
artifacts,
sounds
including
kinky. I'm gonna
cognitive
fix the
Hello,
and
audio
the
now.
texture of
my name's
human
Mitch Altman,
relationships that
and
surround
all
them
because of
will
the
be
people
completely
I met
different
in
from
the
what
Experience
existed
2020.
previously.
And
That's a description of paradigm change. That is a description of what computer technology, primarily now bio and other nanotech and material science and so on, and space technologies, which is a whole other story I like to address. All of that is going to transform who we think we are. Already is, already did. The thing is to wake up and realize that it has already happened. Because what is going to determine how you do in this brave new world, especially if you wield the true weapons of true hackerdom,
Let me know if this one works better. It should.
intentionality matters more than any other thing. Um, and you have to learn to listen on the edges. Uh, these
Otherwise,
days,
I'll test it
the
when Richard's
center
done with
of
his
the
talk.
next truth appears first on the edges and then migrates very, very quickly to be the center of a core system of belief. But every time a new one comes from the edges, it displaces the old center. And we find ourselves in a new way of framing reality. Well, what ideas should you be listening for? I'm going to turn to one of my favorite heroes, Robert Galvin. He was the head of Motorola back in the day when Motorola was really uh, Motorola before it became what it is today. Um, excuse me, I just clicked on this mistakenly. Um, okay, so Robert Galvin was asked what ideas made the real difference because he had breakthrough ideas that transformed the technologies on which he worked. And he said what characterized them is if we came into a meeting to discuss a new challenge and everyone immediately agreed on what we should do, it was always wrong. Well, if you think about what I've said about paradigm change and groupthink, it will be clear why. Because if groupthink, if mere thinking, collective thinking, corporate thinking, the way people learn to be assimilated by a culture or corporation and learn to not violate its vision, because as Timothy Leary said, you never get the truth from a company memo. The higher you go, it's like the invasion of the body snatchers, where someone you thought you knew is suddenly speaking corporate speak or culture speak. You were in that paradigm. And if everybody is in that paradigm and agrees right away, and what is required is a new way of thinking about a new challenge, then it has got to be wrong because it doesn't address the challenge that confronts you. So you need to listen to people on the edges. And it takes a long time to get there. All breakthrough ideas, he said, began as the opinion of one or a couple of people, and the others in the room could not hear it. They couldn't hear it because they couldn't believe it. And so they laughed at it. They just laughed because it was funny to hear something so different from what people thought, which is, as I said, the way I was greeted when I started writing about the computer revolution in the 80s and 90s. People laughed literally at what I said and said, "That's insane. That's crazy."
Ha ha
Um,
ha ha ha.
God forbid was one comment in an article I wrote, but it's all become true. All breakthrough ideas begin that way. It doesn't mean every idea that people laugh at is a breakthrough idea, but the obverse is true. All breakthrough ideas are often, most are laughed at. I mentioned Semmelweis. Um, he said, on the other hand, because it was an opinion of one, it had to be introduced carefully and strategically in order to seize the imagination and be translated into action in a group. So he created a technology roadmap for Motorola. And he said one thing we encouraged was that there would be a more than adequate number of minority reports. He said once we elected to support was on the roadmap, made a decision about what to go ahead and do, we would go back and say, who didn't we hear? Who had an idea that we missed because we couldn't hear it or dismissed it out of hand? Who got lost in the noise from being identified? He said that gave us another iteration. Since maybe we had been too short sighted, we had to see to it that all the influential people had a firm voice in what we ought to be doing. And we kept encouraging them to look for more and letting them know that we could support them when their point of view seemed to be at odds with the majority or dominant or well assimilated cultural point of view. Um, one of our senior people, he said, who was an engineer, said, "You know, we're lucky we had you as the head man of this company for decades because you weren't an engineer. If you were an engineer, you'd probably have known the reasons why we were pretty sure we couldn't do what was being tossed out as a speculative notion. You kept believing that we could do it, and then we would have to go off and try to do it, and we would discover we could do it." Important point, because it points to the need of cross disciplinary thinking. It points to the fact that any discipline or domain of expertise, including hacking or engineering or computer science or information security, or call it what you will, is both limiting as well as inclusive. The better you get at it, the harder it is to see the kinds of insights that come from outside. When a woman became president of MIT, I think about 15 years ago, first woman, first president of MIT, not to have a background in engineering. Her background was biology. And you probably know that Bill Gates said if he was studying over today, he wouldn't be in computing, which is a mature industry, he would be in biology. One of her first addresses was the necessity of the student body grasping that the only way to learn for a lifetime was to become adept in cross-disciplinary learning and to have to develop the resilience and the toleration of ambiguity and even discomfort to go into domains that you don't understand or know well in order to learn from them. And when you see the results of that cross-disciplinary learning, for example, Bucky Fuller developing a geodesic dome by looking at the eye of a housefly, and other examples in which bingo, the creative light goes on because two things juxtaposed, as in a successful metaphor, uh, show you a new way of thinking about something, then you are capable of being educated not by someone else but by your own experience, and you are capable of participating in lifelong learning. So engineers are great, but I do remember I was doing a talk on, actually it was on UFO phenomena. I do several talks on that because I've explored it for 40 years, and that's a whole other subject. But I was taking it seriously enough because the data was so solid to be invited to address the astronomers in a suburb of Chicago. And I always like to check who's in the audience when I'm going to be doing a speech. Like I kind of have a clue as to who might be out there, and imagining those of you to whom I am speaking. And I asked the guy who invited me to speak, what kind of audience is it? And he said, well, they work at Abbott Labs and Motorola and Baxter Labs. And I said, oh, so it's educated then. And he paused and he said, well, yeah, but they're engineers. Now, that was his joke, not mine. And he wasn't kidding, really. What he was saying is that to be trained as an engineer or to be trained in computer science is to learn a way of thinking which is terribly good and absolutely applicable in all sorts of situations, but it's not all there is. And therefore, a different structure of thinking. It's like Goethe, the German poet and writer, saying, anyone who speaks one language speaks no language. Because once you start learning a second language, you discover that your very framework, your way of perceiving and articulating the world, is determined by your language. So you have to remember to be open, as George Bernard said, to heresy. All great truths, he said, begin as blasphemy and build in an openness to heresy, because today's heresy is tomorrow's orthodoxy. Let me give you another example. I was doing a talk for FBI, actually, and I was talking about how, as you all know by now, but then it was new, boundaries were going down around nation states. And therefore, the real sources of power and influence on us, on our behavior, were coming from a different source. That's a good example of how we didn't have the language to think beyond nations or countries then. We invented words like transnationals, and all that's like driverless car. It's not a car if it's driverless. Horseless carriage, for example. Drop the horseless. Uh, you have to invent new language for these new realities so that we can talk about them. And I was doing a talk for the FBI and talking about how their mission had changed, not because they got an executive order, but de facto by circumstances that compelled them to go abroad. In other words, you couldn't do the work of the FBI anymore without going into other countries. But the FBI was a police organization established in this country to work within its borders. And the CIA, on the other hand, was an intelligence organization empowered and instructed to break the laws of every country except this one, but not to operate in this country. And now, of course, as you know, it often operates in this country. And that slippery slope, beginning after 9/11 in spades, meant that the laws of this country are broken. And then forgiveness, not permission, is usually granted. That's a whole other conversation. Uh, so I was saying that that had happened, and the FBI guy in charge in the Chicago office, he said, bingo. He said, that explains what I'm running into. I said, what are you running into? He said, we used to be able to count on patriotism to mobilize people to be glad to work with us and work with us as a result. But more and more, he said, what I'm hearing people say is, we would sure like to help you, but, well, that but is the key to the kingdom. The but means the sources of their own behavior and the power and influence directing it or inflecting it is not what it was, because the organizational structures are transnational. I had a friend who went to Davos not long ago, and she came back shaking her head. She said, do you know, I didn't have a conversation with a single person who had any sense of obligation to a country. They have built their own ad hoc alternative structures to the worlds in which the humplings live. And they have built legal enclaves and offshore enclaves and a way of doing life, not just work, but life, that most people don't understand or know about, but it is shorn of the allegiance they might have had once to whatever nation they thought patriotically inspired their behavior. And that's because the real results of what they do are not determined by their country any longer. They're determined by actors all over the world with whom they collaborate and work. Well, the hacker meritocracy is just a mirror image, a darker mirror image of that, because without structure, without boundaries around identity to determine on whose behalf we act, we can't know not only who we are, but what are the consequences of what we're doing. So many things become a false flag operation in life. as well as in work and espionage. So current technologies make even speaking of interception obsolete because our technologies constitute the physical framework of the whole informational context in which we live, of a pan-global society. And so the boundaries are arbitrary and porous, and as often as not used, as I said, in 20th century political discourse ways to speak to people where they think they live, but where they do not live any longer. We do literally live in a world without walls, and foreign and domestic have ceased to have meaning, or the meaning they used to have. Here and there are distinctions in the informational world without a difference. So I wrote this. I'm going to read something I wrote because I like to quote me, because I say, "Oh, you were smart." Uh, Information security as one task, both offensive and defensive of the intelligence community, sanctions breaking foreign laws while prohibiting similar activities on American soil. But simple distinctions of foreign and domestic don't hold. The convergence of enabling technologies of intrusion, interception, and panoptic reach, combined with a sense of urgency about the counterterror imperative and a clear mandate from leadership to do everything possible to defeat an amorphous, non-state entity defined by behaviors rather than boundaries, borders, or even a clear ideological allegiance, has created an ominous but invisible set of conditions that undermine the previous cornerstones of law, ethics, international law, and even our religious traditions. So, really, there's only one threat, the insider threat, because no one is outside. Everyone is inside some configuration of the network. However, you build the image of the network in your mind and mount it into your brain, uh, everyone's an insider. So there's no outside threat ultimately, because there's nothing but, as you know, bays and inlets and coves along the endless coastline of life today. So, how do we live with this? How do we cope with this? Well, we need three things. I coined this mantra some time ago, and I haven't seen a good reason for getting rid of it yet. We need mutuality. The hacker meritocracy gives you that. You can't do it alone. You need to work with others. You need feedback, and the complexity of the systems determines how frequently and how much feedback we need going into and out of the system. And we need to be accountable on clear goals and intentions. And aesthetics is back on screen, and he's doing this with his finger, which either means there's a fly in the room or he wants me to wind up. But there's more to say about that. I've written a lot about it. Mutuality, feedback, accountability. Check my website. A lot of it is free. All of it is free, email or text. Any questions that come up subsequently that you want to discuss, I'm always out of time before I'm out of words. Just be in touch. Thank you so much for the privilege of being a participant in this extraordinary event. Q&A?
Apparently you have another 6 to 8 minutes if you would like it.
Oh, well, hell.
Although there is a question. Would you like the question or do you want to continue? It's up to you.
Well, sure. Give me the question.
Okay, there's a question coming from Vortex Egg. So is the next stage learning to hack collective belief systems at scale? Is this what is happening with the Facebook and Cambridge Analytica or Internet Research Agency, et cetera, pushing conspiracy theories and alternate realities? And how do we counter this and help people survive?
Great question. You're putting your finger on exactly the existential dilemma we all face. And I feel like it's a retreating, we're firing it over our shoulders as we're retreating from the reality that you described. It has become the norm for anybody with appropriate resources, money, and intention to build those kind of systems and create belief systems. You know how people, I said digital birds in digital cages, you know how people are being collected into thoughtless aggregations, which are reinforced by repetition. And even professors at good schools tell me they have students who cannot distinguish between the popularity of an idea and its accuracy, because repetition of it through social media has given a currency in their brains. And a conspiracy theorist is a term often applied to me by people who want to disparage and ridicule what I'm saying. But as I said, my track record bears out that I've been right about the big issues. And so it's not a conspiracy for people to decide what to do, look at their resources, go into a room, plan, execute, come out, do it. That's not a conspiracy. That's how people operate. And the political groundswell of favoring these kinds of lies, disinformation, and destruction of the very possibility of civil discourse require a pushback. And this is where, when I say anon, I'm really not kidding. But let me tell you a cautionary tale. Gary Webb was a friend of mine. He wrote this incredible series on crack cocaine, the CIA, and the Contras, and he was destroyed for writing it more accurately than not, and deprived of his career, which was a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. And I called him one night when I was following something that was scaring me. I was high anxiety, and I said, Gary, you lost your career by telling the truth. Was it worth it? And he gave me an impassioned, idealistic speech. If we don't do this, Richard, then they win. We have to do this. Because I know who I was up against. He said, they lie, they destroy reputations, they kill people for a living with impunity. But we have to do it to tell the truth. Well, they so undermined his ability to function that he wound up killing himself. And his words echo in my mind in the light of that event. It wasn't a CIA plot to kill him. You don't have to kill someone if you take away their motive, power, and reason for living, which is the most effective way of undermining somebody. And the fact that 10 years later, the CIA admitted that some of which they had said couldn't possibly be true was true, because a distance in time means no accountability. People just wait it out and then acknowledge, well, yeah, we did that. And I can give you a million examples of how it's happening all over the political landscape. We have no choice but to learn how to find and trust partners worthy of collaboration on behalf of shared values to protest what will otherwise become the inevitable capturing of all of us, as in Hungary, as in Poland, as in Russia, and I dare say as some would have here, in order to eliminate civil discourse, critical thinking, and meaningful addressing of reality itself, facts. We have to call it out whenever we see it, and we have to undermine it whenever we can. And if you know a better way to do it than anon, you write to me and let me know.
There's another question that I think that you would really like. What is your take on all the public UFO footage being released? Is the government stretched so thin that nobody is monitoring this, or is everyone so apathetic and thus compliant that they can just dump this footage and not worry?
Well, as I said, I've dealt with that for 40 years, ever since I said I was a clergyman, and a major, a fighter pilot, heavily decorated, told me alone in the church basement, I was his clergyman. He said, we chased them and we can't catch them. So I said, oh, you mean this is real? This shit is real? He said, oh, it's real, all right. So I've spent 40 years, again, in the template I raised, trying to escalate my game to engage with the best and the brightest in a field full of disinformation. And the result was a book in which I collaborated and to which I contributed, called UFOs and Government, a Historical Inquiry, which documents how the governments, several, responded to UFO phenomena from the 40s to the 80s in light of genuine national security concerns. So this is a very big question, a big issue. Those particular videos, those particular events, which have come out of the Navy this time, the Tic Tac videos and the like, we've known about those for a long, long time. Unless you're there, you don't know if it's an intentional disclosure or an accidental disclosure, but there are people, and there has been a to and fro inside various agencies. It's not just one, it's all of them, about what do we say about what we know, and what we show in our book and others have shown demonstrably, we have known from the beginning. We didn't need Aunt Tilly to say she saw a lighted object come down behind the barn and scare her cattle to death. because we knew we had radar, we had sensors, we've been monitoring this. I've talked to people, NORAD, DIA, CIA, NSA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The fact that you know doesn't mean anything if what you can do is be ignored. I've given over 50 talks on that book, including astronomical societies and the FBI. And people say, well, how does the government respond? And my response is to stand in silence until they get the quasi joke. It's just ignore it. Don't even counter it. Let it go away, or if necessary, flood the airways with disinformation and confusion. It requires the things I've been saying: mutuality, feedback, and accountability with the very best minds, looking at the real facts and data of that subject for decades. And that's what we tried to do. But I can address those questions more specifically offline.
Thank you so much for your keynote, Richard. Yeah, on behalf of Hope, thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. What a great group, huh?
Okay, so that was the audio for that, because I might drag in. The reason I said that is because I might drag you in here for some comments. But let's try to fix the audio stuff. I'm gonna take the remote and check, because I just switched to a different audio codec that should work better. Okay, now it's loud enough. Good. Yeah, the previous audio codec essentially crapped out when the stream went crazy. So this one should work now. But yeah, that was his talk. That was Richard's talk there. I'm so glad that we were able to do my question in here for the talk. I'm gonna take this off of that, and I'm actually gonna mute the current. Actually, you know what? This is good background music, so I'll leave the stream on. But we'll go in there. Everyone's applauding right now. Let's see if the rest of this chat can load or not. Oh, come on. What's going on here? Let's click back and forth. I will literally pay you to abduct me. Yeah, that's pretty much what 2020 feels like, especially what I woke up to. Now I'm going to turn on our Instagram for live. So, Hey everyone out there on both things. This is Side Pocket again from DEFCON 201. We're doing this at 2 p.m., which is why on Instagram it seems like God's coming in from the corner window because that's our window in the background. The lights at the right angle that it looks like I'm like some weird angel with an afro or something. But we looked at the EFA talk, the Electronic Frontier Alliance by Electronic Frontier Foundation, and we just also saw today's keynote. Let me try to find my question here on here because we asked. I know it's on here. It's buried in the. There it is, where we asked what was his take on public UFO footage. So to recap for the people on Instagram, Afro Angel, pretty much, to basically recap, and I'm going to wave to all these people. EFF. We actually right before that, let the chat know. Oh, there's a bumper. So
no, not
weird dog videos on the Hope live stream. That is a confused husky right there. I'm gonna mute that. So I'm actually gonna go into our riot chat real quick and let them know. Hey everyone, for the next 5 minutes, you are all on our DEFCON 201 live stream. Anyone want to shout out anything? Please go on ahead until the next talk. So yeah, I just wanted to let the riot chat at Hope know that they're currently on the live right here. I'm actually going to readjust my picture here so that you can see the chat better. I'm actually going to put myself into the upper left corner. Even though you're going to have a hard time, actually, let me go in to the display capture. Not the display capture, there we go. And even though it's going to block out the side chat a bit, I'm just going to make it bigger so that everyone can see. Eventually, I'm going to redo this whole background thing. But, yeah, that should be okay. So, yeah, the EFA thing was really cool. Again, DEFCON 2.1 is part of the Electronic Frontier Alliance still, because the list constantly changes. If you don't know, the EFF, which if you're out there on Instagram, I'm actually going to type in them right now. Should be EFF.org on Instagram, but you can find their website at EFF.com, I believe. And Greg's dog game. Everyone's commenting on the doggo. That's one confused husky. But they're a group of hackers and legal lawyers that fight for everyone's digital rights. And I think I'm getting possible reverb here, so I'm going to turn off the desktop audio. That should balance it out. If you guys can't hear me, let me know. That's on the OBS. We ever since we found out about that through our friends at the EFF, we have we decided to join, and we've met some absolutely amazing groups across America who are fighting for all sorts of digital rights. We feel kind of bad because, once again, we were supposed to be doing so much cool stuff this year of reaching out, and we have been reaching out. We've been educating activists out there who are currently protesting, peacefully protesting, I might add, because we don't condone beating the crap out of people unless it's the White House. To be honest, that's my personal opinion, by the way. But MNW said hi. But no, it's in the Hope chat. But no, that we've been teaching them like how surveillance techniques work from the United States government, how to circumvent them, how to do better peer-to-peer, decentralized, encrypted communications and things like that. And we were going to do a lot more with the city, but unfortunately, COVID happened. And even though New Jersey is doing way better than a lot of states, in fact, I think they're like the leading state in not sucking in terms of COVID, which has taken us by surprise, because it's like we're just used to New Jersey being the worst thing ever. And between how peaceful the protests are, plus our measures against COVID, we're like, our beaches are opening up properly, businesses are opening up properly and everything, and we're like quarantining everyone else. We're just sort of like, how did we become the good state? Like, this is, thank you, Murphy, I guess. And also all the other hardworking people at New Jersey, especially Jersey City, because Jersey City is like a hacker's paradise. You have no idea. but the city is still running only at like half capacity. So probably around September, October, we're going to. Oh, someone just asked. Sorry, this is where is Kurt asked on the chat. Is it true that Hope took down the DEFCON network yesterday? I doubt it. It's was most likely DEFCON knock stupidity striking again. But anyhow, so once our government opens back up more, we're going to be doing a lot more things with the city. Basically, we lost like 8 months of stuff that we were going to do between community events and looking at our privacy stuff. I believe because of our influence, that's the reason why we have those like tablet trackers that when you go into a lot of government buildings in Jersey City now, then I'll do a field recording of this in the future. If they allow me, they have this tablet with a temperature reader, and you put your face on it and it reads your temperature. And the city went out of the way to try to make sure that no one's data is being collected. So, that's really cool. We're going to try to keep them to that promise, but we're going to kind of see what's going to happen there. But yeah, we just had the EFF thing with the Electronic Frontier Alliance, and we've met some really cool people behind there. It was nice. I really like how, obviously they talked about what they did, but what was really nice about the EFA talk at Hope was, as I said earlier, hackers have a really, 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 really bad habit of overcomplicating situations. I'm going to give you an example that we've had without names, and I bring this up all the time simply because, literally simply because, what do you call it? Because it was just so funny. Like, I'm not trying to rag on this person, dead serious. It's just literally so funny. So, what happened one time is we were doing an event. This was later last year, and I had a way crappier phone back then. Like this phone, this Moto is mostly good, especially in terms of battery life and connection. But my other phone was like, there are literal potatoes that you can eat, like cook and eat, that were better than that phone. So I had like the worst camera. I was taking like pictures that were like 1040 by 1040 with like a resolution of 2 pixels. The Game Boy camera had better resolution than this. So I asked one of the other DEFCON 2.1 members if I could borrow their camera because they have a really good camera on their phone. So I could just take, I was in the front of the room, so I'd take one giant group shot because we had a huge amount of people, and we all consented to it. I asked everyone, they all agreed, and we would do that. And instead, what he wanted to do is his phone had a camera function. Oh, Rob's in chat. Hold on, I have to do a shout out of, yo, Rob is in the house. This now feels like hope is gray in chat. So, did Corebot message something on me? Oh, it's just the verification. Anyhow, I guess now you can do that. I think that happened way too... Yeah, oh boy. Oh, doxed myself. It's not the first time. Enjoy Hope. Yeah, this is exactly why I didn't want to use Riot for this. But, yeah, no, where was I getting with the story? So he wanted to use a function on his phone where he could basically stitch together a 3D photo. I had this on one of my older Prime cameras where you can record, where you do it, and in my case you have to take individual pictures and line their edges up, and it would stitch it to one long photo. Apparently his is where you hold down the camera button and you slowly pan, and then it stitches all that data together. And I was saying that's a good function, but just in case that doesn't work, just give me the phone. I'll take one static wide 2D picture, just snap, give it back to you. Then you can do the 3D picture, and that way we have both, because it's good to have backups and backups. But he absolutely insisted on doing this 3D photo, and unbeknownst to him, partly because he was using, and no offense to this, the open source camera app that's on F-Droid. He forgot that it's very CPU intensive, and he had a ton of applications running in the background. So his processor couldn't process the stitching, and we got a widescreen photo that looked as bad as my potato phone, and that was our only picture of the group crowd. Open camera, yes, Rasta. So yeah, that was a whole thing. That was so like that's an example of, you know, it was really simple. Just give the person in front of the group that got consent the camera, take one picture, done. And instead, no, I want to do this crazy hack thing where I pan, and it ruined the entire photo. And that's like a fun example, but we do that a lot. I hate to be complaining all day, but like, for example, look at unfortunately a lot of GNU projects. Not all of them, but a lot of them, where when they say old school design, what they mean by old school design is they mean like back when, like, this is like pre-Linux, this is like Bell Labs Unix. The you know, like their philosophy of an interface is like the way plane interfaces are, where there's literally a knob for every single function of a plane, and it's way overly complicated. And so, like, that's a big problem when you're trying to reach out to people who aren't technologically minded, who could easily become technologically minded and proficient and literate, but because basically they had the worst teachers, they either don't learn anything, don't learn everything properly, or get so turned off by the people trying to teach, whether they sound like they're pompous a-holes or they're just too stuck into like their ways and stuff, and they're just bad teachers, that they don't ever want to learn anything. So now even if they meet a teacher who's properly trying to teach in tech, they don't want to learn because now they're just burned out from the experience. So I'm very, very glad that Tech Learning Collective talked about, not Tech Learning Collective, that was Freudian. So Electronic Frontier Alliance. Tech Learning Collective is something different. Tech Learning Collective is doing a bunch of workshops at Hope. So if you go to the workshop section, they're doing password cracking, web applications, and then something else I can't remember. But if you look up like speakers or workshop people, Tech Learning Collective, you'll see all three of their workshops. I think they're still taking submissions for those workshops, so there's all of that. Now, so I'm really happy that they broke into more of like, how do you reach out to communities? How do you, you know, talk to people? How do you build bridges instead of burning them before you even build them? Things like that. So that, I thought that was a great talk, especially in the keynote. I want to see what the Hope announcements are, and hopefully there's not more. See. Oh, nice! Thank frickin' God. Let's see the links to the workshop rooms. That's great. Yay. Holy crap. Okay, because so, real quick, I was really disappointed that I literally posted Bia's workshop and it was, the registration was open, and I went and I posted and I did our Hope blog about, we made a guide that you can see out here about like what's going on with all of Hope, and I posted all the workshops, and at the time Bia's workshop was open for registration. It's somewhere in here. I think it's above here. Yeah, the building a home lab and introduction to web applications. And then when I click back to actually register, and this makes me realize I should register before I do anything, all the registration rooms were closed. And I was like, no, I wanted to see it and try to build the lab and stuff so bad. Like, I wanted to know what she wanted to do, because she's really awesome teacher and presenter. She used to come to our meetings, and just to see her watch grow from what, I think she was like 11 at the time, and now she's like, what, 13, 14? I don't think she's 15, but like, she's, you know, it's been like 3 or 4 years. It's just been awesome, you know, and I'm glad. Like, she's basically going to become like the trying to think of someone who's popular that no one hates. Like, in my opinion, she's going to become the deviant Olam of the next generation. I freaking love it. So I was sad that it was locked out, but apparently, according to Riot's announcement, workshops from now on have no registration limits. That's going to be really confusing when, because I just submitted stuff for lightning talks. I also just asked on our Twitter, how the heck do you submit to a lightning talk? Because I honestly don't know. And I think the way you had to do it was you had to actually register. But now the issue is uh, okay, so now how do you do it again? So I'm gonna have to look that up later. But hey, from what I can tell, unless Hope's lying to me, it wouldn't be the first time. Um, I don't need to do that. They said the links to the workshop rooms will now be posted in the workshop thing on the right. So that's freaking awesome. It's to accommodate more people in workshops, because again, the talks are going to be amazing, and they have been, but the talks are all publicly live streamed. The workshops, most of them don't have recordings, and they're also like capped in. So this is cool. So now I'm excited to do this. I think her workshop is tomorrow, so I am truly excited. I also need to send something to Mitch, because I lost like 2 or 3 weeks of stuff because of things in my personal life, and just setting up for Ultimate Hacker Summer Camp just drove me absolutely crazy. But so that was the EFA thing, and yeah, I just want to quickly check, because I believe it's on Monday here. Right here at let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 p.m. That's Bia's workshop, so I can't wait to see this. Tomorrow we're gonna cover the Jaron Lanner lightning talk, the keynote, as well as the lightning talks afterwards, which we might actually be in those lightning talks. Again, we submitted, so I'm really excited. Let's look at his profile real quick. He's up here. So the next one is Jaron Lanner. He's weird because he's like basically a guy who works at Microsoft, but he's like the most hippie person at Microsoft, and I know he gets a lot of crap from Microsoft because of that. So I'm kind of interested in what he has to say. So that'll be tomorrow. But let's talk about the current keynote real quick. Richard Thieme. I didn't hear them pronounce his name, so I still don't know how to pronounce his last name. But as I said in the beginning of this live stream, let's go back to the chat here, and I'll just run that in the. Oh, she's not. Gray Frequency's not here, but he's EMCing still, so that's awesome. Let's go back to the OBS here. So I'm sorry for everything looking weird. I just want everyone to read what's going on in the chat. We're gonna shrink it down a little bit later, because we're gonna explore something at Hope. So about this guy. So again, that's why I brought up the UFO question, because he started off as a priest, and then he quit the priesthood, and he became a huge technological evangelist, basically taking his preaching of the Jesus Crebus and the flying spaghetti monsters and Scientology and whatever, and he applied that to technological advancement, and then he got into UFO stuff, and that's his two things. I remember this because he was a keynote at Roots, which I just found out literally when I was on the can earlier, that they canceled Roots this year. So two of my favorite things, Sky Talks and Roots, don't exist, but everything else in DEF CON exists, and we're going to also have a DEF CON Groups Village that we are that DEF CON 2.1 is going to be highly involved in, and I'm personally involved in a lot of it, and doing a lot in it, and I helped out already a lot with it, so that's been hell and stress. But I remember he was a keynote at one of the Roots Asylum, and Roots Asylum, for those who don't know, used to be called DEF CON Kids. It's the kids section of DEF CON. It's like the hackers actually somehow managed to mate, and every year there's like 400 to 600 kids at DEF CON. So it's like, what do you do? Because everyone, like there's people running around high on acid, being burnt like a lobster, wearing thongs, bumbling around at 2 p.m. during the daytime at DEF CON, and those are the men. Those are the identified as male people, never mind everyone else. So it's like, what do you do with all these kids? So they were like, let's just take DEF CON, but take all like the dumbness out of it, because trust me, that's something that's been going on for years, taking the dumbness out of DEF CON, because there's a lot of it, like the same way every convention has its problems. And then they made DEF CON Kids, which turned into Roots, and he was a keynote, and it was hilarious watching this like 20-minute keynote where like literally the first 10 minutes was just like cool actual, like, you know, you are the future, and like how the next generation can and will improve things that us millennials and Gen Xers, when it comes to the internet, drop the ball ridiculously on the internet, which is why the entire internet is CNN right now. And then he just got into UFO stuff. And even though that was in his profile, I was like, wow, he actually brought that up with the kids, the UFO stuff. So I'm actually shocked. I think if it wasn't for my question, he actually wouldn't have brought up the UFO things at all. So I guess he's changed a bit. But that's how I knew him. And I thought that the keynote was neat. Personally, I feel like actually someone just made a comment. Hallway conversation. Let's jump into that. It said, Richard's talk really helped me see that the information age in the West has been enjoying for the last few decades is now a threat to the established nations, from the BRIC nations, and the rise of the QAnon alt-right. We want to maintain our borders, information, and power and property in an age where the BRIC nations are coming into their own power and governments resort to old world border security and response. I'm shockingly mostly agree with that. That's actually very articulate. I'm gonna give them a thumbs up here if I can find the thumbs up. I should really do this because pinch fingers is totally New Jersey, but no, I want to do actual. I'm not giving him the middle finger either. Give him props, thumbs up, awesome. So, but yeah, no, that's what I was kind of getting into. I thought it was good. I don't think it was as good as, ironically enough, Cory Doctorow's yesterday, but I thought it was pretty good. Hi, Squirtle. A lot of stuff that he was talking about, especially when it comes to, let's see, do we actually have this on the shelf, or did Jack steal it back into his room? Let's see, where the heck did it go? I think Jack has it. Hey Jack, do you have simulacra and simulations?
What's up?
Do you have simulacra and simulations in your room?
What?
I want to show it on cam, simulacra and simulations.
It should be in the bookshelf one there.
That's the thing, I just looked on the bookshelf, I don't see it
Not in
anywhere.
my room.
Well, that's a problem. I've literally never touched the book.
Yeah, and when I get done with books, I put them on the
Yeah. Like, I've literally, when you order it, because I have my own copy that's in my room in a box, I've seen the book, like, on your table and stuff.
Yeah.
But I've never actually, like, physically touched it, so I thought it was on the bookshelf too. I am so confused.
I got a digital copy. I have a digital copy you gave me.
Yeah. But I don't have that on the computer, so never
Because I
mind.
can't hold that up in cam though.
I know. That's fine. I mean, I technically could load it in browser, but that's way too much. I'm actually gonna probably bring you on in a second. But yeah, no, one of my favorite books of all time. It's actually one of the books they had to read for the Matrix. Is hold on a second, Jack. Is Simulacra and Simulations by Gene Bolgerard, which I mentioned in the chat. And that was pretty cool. Did you watch the keynote?
Yeah.
Do you want to share any thoughts on the air about it?
Not really.
Not really.
No.
Nothing spoke out to you during the keynote. I will say the one criticism that I do have about the keynote, and I actually brought this up in chat, is now, to be fair, this is like a tricky thing in general when it comes to societal stuff, because this has been going on for ages. But like, I felt it was a little echo chambery in the sense that what do you call it? Like, let me take a sip and I'll tell you what I mean.
Almost everything that he said has been hashed and rehashed already.
I know,
So it's like,
but that's not really my issue, because I mean, technically the stuff that Cory Doctorow said yesterday has been rehashed, and that's actually why I'm excited for Tiffany Rad, because again, a lot of her research is in actual car hacking stuff, and I feel like she's been forgotten in terms of car hacking, but I'll bring that up when her talk actually comes up. But no, my issue is that it's really easy to some of that rhetoric, which I see a lot on what we would call in America the left, is really easy to appropriate and assimilate. So, like, there's a lot of talking points. This is actually why you've seen, like, the LGBT community move away from this. Like, they used to... There's a saying, and it's a good saying, and, like, RuPaul even said this on her show about, like, you have to love yourself before you love anyone else. So there's a lot of, like, self-improving yourself because society basically hates you. But the problem is that what eventually happens is younger generations of terrible institutions end up assimilating and adopting. So that whole, like, you have to look for alternate knowledge and, like, not follow what the mainstream tells you. That's what the alt-right is now. So it's like, that's kind of the issue of, that's why I think it's echo chambery, because he's, like, saying stuff that we used to say, like, late 90s, early 2000s, that now is, like, all the terrible people, the people that he probably hates, that's how they think. And that's why, like, you can't really use that anymore.
That, like, all my life. Because, like, when I was a kid, right, it's like, you'd have, like,
Well, I mean, we're on audio here, so if you want to like sit on the side here, that's why I wish Cyril was up, but he's like always dead tired. I mean,
Okay.
I wish I could. I mean, wait, it's not. It's closed. So make sure. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah,
I'll take a sit down here. So.
It's really heavy. Just put the. Well, on camera, this looks like I'm doing something else.
Well.
Typical day at our place.
Yeah.
So this
well,
is.
if you want to see, you're gonna have to tip us some token. Wait. No.
Yeah. Or bits. In
Bits,
Twitch, it's bits. Yeah. So you have to look at his
You're gonna
bits
have
to
give us
tip
some
bits.
Bitcoin,
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, this is G.I. Jack is our co-founder.
So
here.
definitely like to see get Cyril on here. Yeah, I think it'd be really good for that guy if he kind of talks on cam more. He definitely needs a little more. But anyway, so the thing is, I was like, I dealt with that all my life, right? It's like that everybody who's like kind of you know, it's like there's no shortage of groups that literally, if you like show up like a punk rocker or some sort of subculture, it's like, you know, come to you and your friends and be like, you know, no shortage of different groups, especially groups that are fringe for no reason, that says if you think you're a free thinker, you have to, not should, but have to, just follow whatever I say, because that's what all the free thinkers are doing, or we think we're free thinkers, and if you don't like us, and then you're kind of like, fuck off, who the fuck are you? I mean, it's like, especially like the Christians, like especially like the Christian right was big about that one. It's like, you know, but we're the real punk rockers. You're like, fuck off.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
again, appropriation. Yeah.
I mean, it's like understandable. It's like, you know, it's like you understood that, like, you know, the punk scene was never as homogenized as people made it out to be. But it's like, you know, you don't just come up and say, well, you need to do this or you need to do that. But in all honesty, you also get to the point where, you know, it's like the whole concept of being like a whole free thinker, when you look back on it, it's kind of superfluous, because it doesn't really say much and it really doesn't mean much. And you're also kind of, at this point, I think you're almost fighting 30 years ago's battles, which becomes like the real like reason why people don't like hipsters, is like they're stuck 30 years ago. It's like kind of like you're literally fighting 30 years ago's battles, not because you particularly have something to say, it's because you just want to look cool. You kind of just want the social capital that people who are established have, without really realizing all the pain and that they really went through to get that, and kind of the recognition, like how hard they really fought for it. It's just, you want to be in the next big thing for being the next big thing. But like, so it's like I said, it's like, you know, like, think for yourself. I mean, that can apply to anything. I mean, you know, I mean, that's saying a lot. That's saying little without. That's without really saying anything.
It sounds profound without actually being profound.
Yeah. I mean, and it could be profound depending on context. You know, I mean, you know, like I said, context.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of things like that. It's like kind of like, you know, again, when I get back to, like, you know, kind of why I step away from the punk scene, like kind of why it really doesn't really mean anything to me anymore, is because like it's really, that was kind of, you know, pre-internet. I mean, almost to say. I mean, I still listen to music. I still like. I mean, like the Partisans and the Misfits are still like, I still love the bands, but like it's like kind of like, you know, like that whole kind of identity is like kind of like how music revolves around a local music shop doesn't really mean anything when, you know, I mean, the whole kind of concept of like even something like underground music doesn't really mean anything when you have like Bandcamp and SoundCloud, and then like one link is just, you know, or even Amazon
one
music.
Service to rule them all.
Or even Amazon Music, or like, you know, what's now mainstream music sources have a very wide selection. Where kind of, you know, kind of the whole concept of underground even 30 years ago is there's a very limited selection of what you could actually get in a mainstream music store. So it's like, you know, it's one example of kind of, not just one example in music, or even kind of like how the hacker scene is just kind of, or the internet culture in general was very, very like, you know, underground, because like, you know, even just any access to information at all, the hoops you have to jump through, and now it's presented like right here. So it's like, you know, like one set of struggles got solved, to be honest with you, but now you have like a different set of struggles. Which are related, but it's different. I mean, like the terms are different. The terms of kind of, you know, what's really, you know, different. So, you know, it's, you know, so it's like I said, when you get back to fighting like last year's battles, I mean, like, you know, some of those statements which really meant something 30 years ago, like on many fronts between like music or computers or whatever. Like most of those problems have been solved, but now there's like an entirely different set of problems that people are worried about. Some of them are related, mind you. Some of them are related. But
it's like a virus where it's like parts of it, like there's always a core that gets passed on, but it mutates. I also think this is the reason why, for example, like when you think of like things like, I mean, there's many problems with this, but I'm just saying overall, like what we conceptualize as the left in America, and I would even say even the what we call the right, where like the older generation's really confused with the younger generation, because basically like the older generation wants to pass down their stuff, but because again the older generation is still fighting yesterday's battles and not fighting the today's battles that the next generation is in, they realize they have to like at least partially forge their own path, so then they diverge. And real quick, George Carlin I also think has a great summary of that whole thing, where he talks about why he hates the House of Blues, and like basically like white guys blowing on a harmonica, aka hipsters, where he says it's not enough that you need that. It's not enough that you know the notes to play it. You need to know why they need to be played. Yeah. And so we're plagued, particularly in America, but I think this is a human thing in society, where we're doing technically good techniques like trying to think outside the box and stuff, but we're doing this without, as you said, context and without data. Hence why we have like the Trump administration saying that like, oh, when it comes to like a biological scientific thing, somehow science shouldn't be involved in it, because again, they're doing that vague, they're twisting that vague whole thing of like, oh, we have to think for ourselves, but they're doing this without context of data because they don't want the data, because that's not their agenda. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you go to Trump, it's even easier than that. It's like
I agree.
If you're looking for somebody who literally made his entire career just hanging around the outskirts of Hollywood to build a reputation, to get like a lot of these nouveau riche like celebrities who don't know how to handle money, to keep on throwing him money when the business has failed, and then becoming a minor celebrity himself with like the trashiest reality TV show. If you trust that as fucking being against the mainstream media. I mean, there's no words for you. I mean, you're not even trying. So, I mean, it's just it's like I said. It's even back when you have like a contradiction in terms.
One of the guys was legit confused because he was like, "Wait, so what? Like, wait, so what on meth?" I was asking who or me. Just want you to know that's G.I. Jack. He hasn't been. He's the guy who apparently looks like he's on meth, but as someone was also saying, he's speaking pure facts right now. So I don't think he meant that as like a diss.
What's it called? I have something to say about that. Yes, I have a Harley. Yes, I ride. Yes, I ride a Harley with a club. No, we're not all in meth. Thank you for the stereotype.
No, I think it's less than that. It's because honestly, like remember how like I was 2 weeks ago, I wasn't feeling well all week, and now it's like your turn of not feeling well all week. So if he looks out, I will say though, since this is Hope, if you're looking for meth and meth adjacent chemicals, try to hit up Murdoch on Riot. That's all I will say on that.
I don't think you can do drugs on. I don't think you can do.
I'm pretty sure he's found a way.
Oh,
I'm
no,
pretty sure
he's found a
he's
way.
like it's like Jurassic Park. It's like life found a way. The life is named Murdoch, spelled with a 0. But yeah, so like I did. Again, like I said, I did like what he was saying, but again, it's like it's not rehashing like, oh, I hate rehashes. It's just sort of like, it just kind of should have been like a warning label in front of that of like, warning, this stuff is so vague, it's really easy to appropriate into other things, which is why the hell, which I thought maybe aesthetics would do, because usually aesthetics is good about doing that, but I think he was more concerned of just moderating the chat right now.
I mean, because like when you have like a keynote, you kind of have to let the guy talk.
To some degree, This is not DEFCON 201 where we just like, I think we can all agree on this. I disagree, But what do you think? What do you think of this digital Hope so far?
I kind of like one of my favorite parts about like Hope in person is kind of like less the talks, because like when I went to Hope, I'd only go to a few of the talks. I'd take a schedule. I'd find like the 1 or 2 which were kind of like really cool. There's a lot of filler talks, but the real value of Hope was kind of hanging out like on the mez on Friday, Saturday night, right? Because like most of the time you have great conversation. I mean, you get like a good perspective. And people's perspective on things, and then the other thing is it's just that like people would like haul out either oddball projects like rare hardware, like really interesting shit that you don't see like elsewhere, and kind of like it's kind of like these like it's like the type of people that you kind of see these people's GitHubs, and then you kind of see like these people's like papers on the internet, but like as far as the people like me concerned, they're kind of like almost don't really exist in real life for me. So it's like all these kind of like really smart weirdos with like these interesting projects who just all haul it out like a big hacker show and tell like on the mez, and then everyone would be drinking social lube, do some recreational chemicals, so we're all kind of in a good mood.
Did you just say social lube?
Yeah, social lube. Like alcohol, social lubricant.
Okay, all right, because I have a completely different background on that.
So you just go walking around like the mez and just start walking around and like like a whole thing in like hallway con, and just start randomly bumping into people. So you get people in a very relaxed social state, and then you kind of meet all these interesting people with these interesting projects. 2018 was kind of a bum year for me for personal reasons, but I don't want to get into. But 2016, I think, was probably the last Hope I really enjoyed. I was on certain recreational chemicals with Murdoch, right? And one point I got separated, and just talking to these people, these really smart people. And then there's one person just randomly just start shoulder stuffing people. And there's this one guy drags in this old Panasonic Tough Book. He has his, this really weird set of glasses. I'm just looking at what he does, and I start seeing like brackets and recursive code. I'm like, wow, recursive text. I'm like, okay, that's code. So, okay, so what are you working on? You know, I'm like, hey, well, you sat down next to him. I mean, you know, you wouldn't drag a laptop with just randomly working on code, you know, Friday night in the mezz unless you didn't want to talk about it. So he starts like, oh yeah, I'm working on entropy-free logic gates. So I get like a whole introduction on kind of how like the future of kind of how if we could, you know, do an entropy-free gate purely on silicon without any intermediate like AND and OR gates, this is going to be revolutionary in computers. And here he is, just, you know, hammering like, you know, like 3 a.m. in the morning, like hammering away Verilog right into a Panasonic Toughbook, and he's explaining this to me, and I am just, you know, and like, you know, it's like I said, it's like very surreal kind of moment, and like that was kind of the value for that. Like I thought that was like the most fascinating thing in the world. So that's kind of why I loved Hope. And then you run into people who like ran and do all kinds of projects, just kind of weird, interesting projects, interesting technology, just socializing with them, and then you people with various organizations. You just happen to join a social circle. It's just people from the FSF and the EFF. This is like long before I was formally introduced to any of these people, and you're like, wow, this is like people from the EFF. I grew up as like a kid, kind of, you know, I really thought these people were cool, and these, you know, they did all the right things with like activism, and like here these people are, and just having a conversation with them, you know. So I always thought that was cool, and like, you know, you meet all the people that like you hear on the internet, and then you know you finally get to, you know, and then of course there's like the pirate party people that like you try.
Oh yeah, and Liz is amazing.
Liz, Liz. What was it called? Kusanagi. It's a couple of years ago. Like, you know, I first met Liz on like online. I knew her because she had tried helping.
And then you see her at Hope as a mom, and it's like throws you off.
I guess so. Yeah, because like she was trying to, like, I was like trying to get together a pirate party in New Jersey like years ago when I was in NJIT, and then I literally this is like one of those, this is how New Jersey is, because people say like, oh no, it's like it's really not, you know, that bad. What we're really trying to do here with a lot of things is kind of make New Jersey really awesome with DC 201, because like I was literally told by professors at NJIT that I couldn't start a pirate party in New Jersey because it's too dangerous.
Yeah,
quote,
basically.
Too dangerous from a computer science
especially
professor.
back then, yeah.
Yeah, this is back then. I mean, this is 2013.
Yeah, I know. Well, again, I have to think about that because one, also, I mean, not that there's still not problems with one, Murphy wasn't elected yet, and two is also like that, you know, because again, I keep thinking like, oh yeah, the 70s, that was 30 years ago. It's like, no, that's when I entered high school. Yeah. So I have to like remind it of, oh damn, like, I'm old.
People, I mean, like, you know, when I say like New Jersey is like a pretty messed up place, like, you know, people are like, oh no, it's not that bad, man. Or, you know, it's...
If they have, they just haven't driven down Clinton Road. But no, real quick, what I was just going to recap is that, I was explaining on our first stream that, like, Hope, it's not that there's not, like, super technical talks, and I would actually argue this year between the talks and the workshops, this is probably, like, one of the most technical years since, like, since, like, H2K and H2K2. But they really focus on, like, a lot of people say hacktivism, which I agree with, but like they focus on not only wider social issues, but they also focus on like the hacker community itself and the social issues within there. Like one of the biggest talks I've ever seen at Hope was, which is why we kind of did this in May, was they did a whole thing about mental health in the hacking community. And it's absolutely a ton of shit, because it's like you have bad mental health as humans, then bad mental health as half of us are Americans, and then the mental health in the tech world, and then so it's just like endless bricks. So it's like that's what they really, you know, focus on. They really focus on debate and stuff like that. Some of the best stuff comes out of it. I also just recently realized that between my shirt that says "Made in Jersey City" and your shirt that says "People pay me good money to feel my prick," I think somewhere in the middle, that's where literally the essence of DEFCON 201 is.
As much as I hate to say this, all right, this shirt is for a tattoo parlor from Boston. I might hate to say it because it's Boston,
a broken clock is right twice a day,
no,
so
but the story of this shirt, right, is I'm at this big biker rally like a couple of years ago, right? So there's a tattoo convention and a biker rally, and then one of these tattoo artists is wearing this shirt. I'm like, oh my god, I have to have that shirt. He's like, yeah, here, take one. I'm like, that's. And then still, I wear it. It comes up in my t-shirt drawer. I put it on, and then like people just give me dirty looks.
It's an interesting one about pharmacy.
This is a long time ago, because you know, when I was at NJIT, like I wore this one. Right? By the time I got to the NJIT, this is long after I even got out of the service. So here I have this shirt, no sleeves on. It's like, oh yeah, you're supposed to do a presentation in class, and I just happen to be wearing this shirt. And it's like this one of the kids goes. It's like one of the kids is like on my team, because he's like a group presentation. He's like, "Really, you wore that shirt today, Jack?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's the fucking t-shirt."
It sounds like my last day of high school.
Yeah.
Where like legit, I am not even kidding. What I did was I took all of my like air quote awful offensive shirts that you're not supposed to wear in my high school, and despite it being 8 billion degrees outside, I like wore, I think I had like 12 of them, and I wanted to see how many I'd get through before they gave up. I went through 4 of them.
Okay.
I also had pants with pornography on it that my mom bought for me that I lost after she passed away.
Yeah.
They were just like, we give up, and they just let me.
So by my standards, from like all the shirts that like I've had, right? This isn't really offensive by some of the stuff I used to wear, right?
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I used to have this T-shirt.
This is like 2nd grade, you know?
I used to have that hat, that stupid Happy Fisherman shirt, which is like a picture of a fisherman. It's like casting a rod this way, and the fish is blowing him in the water. I used to wear that shirt, and then everyone really hated that one. But like, you know, I got that one when I was in the army. I had like, I gave it to him because it's like 3 sizes too small now. I made the horse be with 2 shirts. A silhouette of a horse bending a girl over. Like
that's always great.
With a big silhouette of a big horse dick.
I'm gonna answer your questions in a second, by the way. I just wanted to tell a story.
I used to wear that one around post when I was like in the army, and then like nobody batted an eye. People were, you know, really specialist.
Believe it or not, and I wish I still had this because I don't think I have this anymore, nor do I think it fits me. Out of all of the shirts that everyone hated, the one that everyone hated the most was like literally, it was like basically non-offensive. It's just what it did. It's like me being kind of a social engineer. I literally had a shirt I printed myself that said, what was it? I think it said, "I will tell you how I feel" on the back of the shirt, and on the back of the shirt it says, "I will tell you how I feel" on the front of the shirt. And you'd be shocked of how many people would just be like, "You fuck!" Yeah, that was the shirt that would just, no matter where I'd wear it, in government facilities, schools. I won't say churches because at that point I wasn't dragged to them anymore, thank God.
Get the one that says, "How to keep an idiot busy at hours. Tell them to read the other side of this shirt." And put that on both sides of the shirt. And that's when people get really mad.
Or now the nowadays one is you do that and then the back is just the Brexpart logo. But yeah, we do actually have questions in in this chat, and I'm gonna do them in order because the last question we got is kind of hilarious. Doozy. There's a guy's talking about. He says, "I'm currently doing a degree in cybersecurity from the EC Council, and since it's online, so there's many
EC Council.
Yes." So there are just hella assignments with complete self-learning theoretical material and crap. And he says, "Do you really think this is really useful?" As you're making Jack actively depressed because I know his answer's gonna be, "Wait a minute." I find try hack me and hack the box way more easy to do. Basically, he's asking, is this really useful to do, and are certifications really that helpful? You definitely know about this, so take it away.
Actually, like trying to get like actual jobs in InfoSec, if that's what you're trying to do in a career,
it's a pain in the ass no matter what you do.
Get something like, you know, get like whatever assist, but whatever certification that like people actually look for, because it's like I said, but EC Council specifically. I'm not saying me specifically, but somebody used to work at...
it's not me, by the way, for once.
Not him. Not specifically the ISP where EC Council was hosted, and specifically had to help clean up every time they got hacked.
Allegedly.
All their stolen materials, and just saying that EC Council is the biggest full of shit thing that everyone who actually works in IT laughs at, because their plebs ran all their shit on Windows Server like 2012, and kind of with the most base setup of stolen material.
I think if they ran it on Temple OS, they would have been more secure. Yeah.
And they keep on getting hacked by skids like repeatedly because like they're pleb dumbasses, specifically EC Council. But I think there's some great certs out there. I mean, and like the two things, what you have to learn about this is the difference between InfoSec and hackers. Right. To be a hacker, you don't need a cert. In fact, being a hacker, no matter amount of certs will ever make you a hacker. However, being a hacker by itself is not something necessarily that will get you a job in InfoSec.
Right.
So consider that there's a lot of hackers who work in InfoSec. There's a lot of hackers who got the jobs without certs, but you're not them. Especially these days, if you're going for like an actual degree from like an accredited 4-year institution, that's great. They probably might have some connections with some places. Get like, you know, one of the accredited certs that everyone likes, like CISP or whatever, or like talk to people. Like I don't work in InfoSec. I will never work in InfoSec if I can help it. It's like I said. I got out of the Army in 2012. I don't work for government contractors. I do not want to have to work in security. I do not want to have to feel that it's just that high drama. I like working in operations where I could just go home. Nobody ever asks about my internet activity. Nobody asks about my handles are. I don't ask my company.
They have a picture of a guy doing a screen test where he basically has a piece of paper taped to his forehead, and I think that's how you feel about right now with InfoSec.
Nobody's ever asked what conferences I go to. I don't ask my government to pay, company to pay for conferences. I just go. I just show up. I have a good time. I talk about technology. I don't have to worry about anything other in technology conferences and enjoyment.
I'm similar. I think this is why we're friends, because as you've seen me when I do talks, and if I get to do lightning talks or whatever, I hope I say the same thing, which I let people know that whether I screw up on this or I'm an expert, I'm a so-called expert in this, like everything that I talk about is my hobbies when it comes to technology. Like I don't do this as a job until very recently.
So if you want, I mean, there's a lot of great people in this scene who actually do work in InfoSec, and if that's what you want to do, go talk to them.
They're not sane, but
none of us are sane. I mean, but if that's what you really want to do, I mean, just ask which one of them, what certs they.
The way I've described it, again, I've never worked in professional InfoSec, but the way I've always described it is like, again, as you said, just to reiterate, look at a bunch of job applications and like what companies are looking for, and get those like base things. Like for example, everyone basically programs in Python now, so even if that's not your like favorite language, like for example, I personally am comfortable with Ruby, but I do know and I have learned Python just because most things are built in Python, so it's good to know. And like some of the base certs, but then after that, like jobs are jobs. Like all the people, like any frustration we've ever had or anyone else that we know have had with jobs comes down to job stuff. So for again, the reason why a lot of people go to like conventions is because I mean, my entire career, and I feel like yours is the same way, like any of our jobs, we pretty much always got them, not because we had like super elite certs, but because one, we were either working on some side project that someone knows, and more important, it's because of who we know. Like how many jobs have we gotten because we've heard of a friend was like, oh crap, this is opened up, or hey, I work here, and it's like that happens all the time. So
which is it's always good to network. There's a lot of people in this scene, like here. There's a lot of people who will if you get to know them, will kind of hook you up with a job opportunity, especially like an InfoSec, because like a lot of the hacker scene do work in InfoSec and will try hooking you up with jobs. But a lot of times, like I said, like a lot of the certs, like the real certs, like exist. I mean, people complain about it, but people, they look for employment. So
it's like a college degree. Like they're looking for the paper there. After that, it's just you're dealing with job stuff. So it's like just get the stuff that they're looking for.
I mean, it's that said, I don't have any certs in what's it called, in like Red Hat.
You have crazy insane projects which people do notice.
Yes.
So
I have crazy insane projects that people do notice. I have an associate's in telecom systems.
Because there's a lot of people who like all they do is like the business stuff, and then they wonder why they kind of like don't get anywhere. And I think part of the reason is because essentially, to use terminology, there's Rob.
Hey, Rob,
he's mutating, on the live stream, being all bald headed with all of his mind controlled followers in the background on the stream. But no, is that basically they're like really boring people. Because it's like, nothing's worse than someone where they just like basically live in a company and that's it. Like even people in companies don't want to usually deal with those type of people. So it's always good to like, just it's like, hey, it's like I've gotten, actually, believe it or not, even my current promotion stuff noticed, because people notice I do the stuff with locks, and that's just something I just picked up 3 years ago, and I'm not like a professional like breaking into buildings or anything, but I just enjoy doing this and stuff. The last question, which is kind of funny because it opens up this can of worms, is someone said, do you guys have like a Jersey City podcast like Hackers of JC? We've been wanting to do that for years.
Yes,
that's technically kind of what we're doing with the live streams most of the time. That's why we have all these different shows and everything.
Maybe we should just get like a general DC21 podcast where we get like get Neo and Cyril.
I have been debating like
whatever.
Probably when Neo gets back, we'll do like do one that's permanently just chatting. And it'll be like not a meeting, but like sort of like inside the mind of DEFCON 201 members, where it basically looks like the foamy cult for radically years.
I mean, I haven't talked that show at Austin. That was like when I was like like on Newgrounds. That was like I religiously watched every like.
And it's still going on. He actually is on Twitch. We follow him.
Cool.
Like everyone is on there. Like when Chelsea Manning got on there, I was like, everyone's on here.
It's a talking squirrel. Like, but that shit was like still like the early OOs.
Although
like talking squirrel and hot goth chick. That was just like so...
I will say this. Although for Twitch, he has a pumpkin hand puppet instead of his real face, but he uses his real voice. And actually him doing that confirmed the exact speed up method that he uses for Foamy, because it's his real voice artificially sped up. So we had the same person asking, I said, so education wise, which important certs and qualifications in order to be a hacker would you recommend? Also, I did try finding communities around me, but didn't find any. Question: let us know where you are in chat. I'm really good at finding like local people around. So just ask, because he does agree with you that finding communities is very important. But he was asking like, what sort of maybe qualifications and background do you think is like the base level that people look for?
For what? I mean, InfoSec.
I think he means InfoSec. Let's talk about InfoSec, and if he changes the thing.
I mean, as far as InfoSec, I'm pretty sure the CISP, the CS. CISP, I think, is the important one that everyone gets.
Dude, okay, you're in Mumbai, India. No, let me tell you this. Literally, our DM should be open on Instagram. DM our Instagram. If you can't do that, our email is info@defcon201.org. Literally, like, India is like a giant hacker mecca.
Yeah.
Like, there is 8 billion groups. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know there's at least 3 different groups in Mumbai that meet every month. And they also have their own convention that recently expanded outside of India called NullCon. So if you DM us or email us, DM us on Instagram, or if you email us at defcon21.org, I will literally give you like a huge list of just Mumbai, India, and the surrounding villages of all, like, especially Mumbai. There's a lot in there, so just reach out to us. I can tell you about that. But in terms of certs, like what?
What's it called? I mean, as far as InfoSec, I don't work in InfoSec, so I really can't tell you which one is that like HR is looking for. I mean, everyone goes with like, you know, the CISP. What's it called?
Yeah, like that's definitely like a rando Jake malware type question. On Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, again, that's probably a good one for malware Jake. I mean, the people who actually work in which actually work in like InfoSec is
I've been distracted, so I just opened it for the 4th time. Gonna go to 6 pins now. Sorry about that.
It's like I said, if you're, you know, it depends on. It's like I said, if you're like, you know, if you're looking for certs for like ops, I mean, like Red Hat certified engineer is a good place to start. This is a good one. If you're doing network something, the CCNA or whatever they call it now.
That's a good point. They like changed the name like 5 times. Especially Cisco is really bad at changing their names, and they're all abbreviated, so you just get confused really easy. And I think that's the point.
Cert is. I mean, you know, it's a lot of that. It's like kind of like the thing is, the technology is to learn, right? Like, you know, like, the way I got into this industry, like got into like operations, right? If you actually have good skills with like Linux or Unix, and you're looking for a job. Go get a job in the data centers in Noctec, right?
Yeah, I was about to say, I think one of the biggest, like literally the biggest thing that you've done in terms of getting like a foot in the door was you ended up on the 90s sitcom known as NYI.
Yeah. Okay, so NYI was actually great.
I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying like the stuff that goes on there,
Okay, yeah, so if you want to talk about like real, we'll get in a few things. I really don't like out like, you know, like talking.
And then in a couple of minutes I'm going to end this because we're going to explore some Hope stuff.
Okay, so like the data center I used to work for, it's pretty cool. There's a few people actually involved in the. There's a few people in NYI who are involved with a few people in this community. So it's like, you know, a lot of the old guard, the kind of like the founders, like the original Noctecs, all went to Brooklyn Polytech, and a lot of people in this community went to Brooklyn Polytech. So I didn't go to Brooklyn Polytech. I did a few semesters.
You were stuck in Morristown, kind of like the way I was stuck in.
A little careful
in
about
Rutherford,
giving out locations of where I'm from, so please don't bring that up again.
Well, it's a really huge section of New Jersey.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
But anyhow,
so
you're doing data center stuff.
So yeah, I'm doing data center stuff, right? NYI. Which is kind of, you just basically answered a 20-question test on Unix and you got a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like, oh yeah, you're from the community, you do a lot of Linux stuff. Yeah, that's okay. Here's a 20-question test on Unix, and you get a job. And then when you're at like a data center, you kind of, you know, you're at a data center. Then you can, a lot of stuff you can do there. So there's a lot of stuff you can do for a data center that you can now put on your resume, and then from there you can just say, hey, I worked at this technology professionally. Yep. A lot of times they'll give you like your own cabinet space. You can rack a server and install it.
And all the free porn you can watch.
That's the other data center. That's the other data center I worked at.
Oh man! And to answer the question in chat, I'm always learning new lockpicking stuff and how to advance my skills. But I actually teach lockpicking. For those of you who don't know, well, first of all, that giant thing that you moved is the entire mobile training kit, which very soon is going to get its own brother or sister or whatever, or probably at the end of the year. And I teach a show called The Master of Unlocking. If you want to see more of Jack, he runs a show that I'm trying to... let me look at the calendar again. I'm trying to think. Are you okay, by the way? I know you're not feeling well, but...
We'll talk about Jack.
Okay. Let's see. So this is this week. But no. On the 6th, Arch Vile Linux Perspective. That's his show where he talks about Arch Linux and stuff like that. And yeah, so I actually teach lockpicking on there. So I'm just doing that. Yes, you're welcome for that. And what we're going to do now, because I thought we were only going to stream to 4, but it's already 3:49, so I'm going to end the current Instagram stream. So if you want to see the rest of the streaming stuff, you can go to our Twitch, DLive, or YouTube, or you can view YouTube through Torrent and Vidus. And yeah, so you can follow us on there, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at an aspect of hope. I'm going to randomly pick one, and each day I'm going to try to do a different section of hope and like some of the after activities and things like that. So every time post keynote, we will do the Instagram stuff. We will actually watch the keynote and do commentary on the stream itself, provided the internet doesn't crash or whatever. So thank you guys for joining on Instagram, and follow us on the other streams. Peace. Of the video, there we go, and I'll fill out the details in a moment. The mic and stuff. I didn't know that was a general thing, so I apologize for that. I'll keep that as a note.
Anything about me?
But yeah.
Specifically where I'm from, because...
And I warned, I ended the Instagram stream. I didn't end the stream itself, meaning that everyone can hear you. So, but yeah, we're gonna explore the other parts of hope right now, for a couple of minutes, on the rest of the live stream. See, I thought like I would go on because like I was like, oh, I'll maybe stream to like at worst 4, and it's already 3:51. That's what happens when I get caught up in stuff. So I'm going to move this back down here, and I'm going to shrink myself. And for once, I'm actually going to let you leave the door open because there's enough light going on between everything that's properly lighting everything. So that works out in the stream's favor. So there we go. I think that should be a proper limit there. Let's shrink the video and let's look at something about hope. Now, let's actually go to the wiki real quick because I found out something earlier that I did not know about before during Hope, and I just want to pop into the chat here to see what everyone's talking about. Chill Lounge. Nothing's really jumping out at me. I just saw something about like that we need more female tech workers in general, and that's been something we've been struggling with years. But yeah, let's go back because I just found this out. So let's open the wiki in a separate link. And this is pretty nuts. So I'm trying to find where you find it in the village because I have it on my other laptop. That's the part I'm going crazy with right now. I should be able to just type in RF and it might bring up the page. Yeah, here we go. The RF Village. So we're not going to do this now, but they just released details for the RF Village, and being this is the RF Village, or the Radio Frequency Village, everyone was really confused about how do you actually access the village, and as it turns out, because of the way they are, let's find a good one. There we go. You can't, you can technically access it through the internet, but they're on the entire IR spectrum. Where did that picture go? There we go, that's a good one. I hit the wrong button. Yeah, so they're on the RF spectrum, so you actually have to have a radio receiver and transmitter in order to interact with the RF Village. It's entirely on that spectrum. So if you go to the Hope Wiki and you type in RF in the search, you will find the RF Village page and they'll list their activities. It seems like, which we're going to look in, they're mainly active Tuesday through Sunday. So they're going to be active from the 28th through August 2nd. So sometime between there, we'll try to do the RF Village. In fact, Jack, do you actually have still the your antennas and stuff like that?
Yeah, for what?
Okay. No, because I was explaining this. Because they do have some software-defined radio stuff on the web, but the way the Radio Frequency Village is doing this year is they're entirely on the radio frequency spectrum. So you actually have to use receivers and stuff in order to access the village. They're not virtualized on the internet. Technically, you can, because they put some links here. Someone did spin up some software-defined radio stuff through the web browser. But I think it would be more funny if we would try to, like, if we try to do...
I don't think these things are gonna, like, work.
The actual radios or the antennas you got for your computer and stuff first. Or maybe actually Suricel might have some equipment for that as well, so... But
I also got this
yeah.
bigger, like, whip antenna.
Yeah,
but,
just whip out your huge antenna right there on the stream. So welcome to being in DEFCON 201 and living here. Yeah. So we are our own 90s. I are our own 90s sitcom. But yeah, that's how that works. And apparently, even though people know about that, they're really confused. I think part of it is because while they might be transmitting stuff right now, they're not going to be actively doing so until Tuesday. So we will attempt to try sometime between Tuesday and Sunday to get to the RF Village. So that's how that's happening here. But what we're going to do in the meantime is let's go back to our guide. And, I know. Oh, crap. Yeah, you know what? Let's do this real quick. It's not in this web browser. It should be in a different web. I thought I brought it up. Hang on. Nope, it is not here. Did I accidentally log myself out again? I accidentally logged myself. All right, so you know what we'll do? In a future stream, we might, because basically the workshops are almost over. The workshop I was going to enter in. In fact, let's do something else real quick. Let's go back into chat and go into workshops. Let's see. How to get published. Gotcha. Yeah, the previous workshop, I had to, this was the one that was supposed to happen. So, we're going to go down, go in, let's try to open it here. Hopefully we don't have to enter any personal information. Or too much personal information. I don't even know if this page is even running anymore. Because it probably just ended early. Because I was going to try to do one of the workshops here on the stream, but that's not happening. So, yeah, I think, actually, so yeah, we're unfortunately not going to peek in at the workshop, especially since we honestly had that awesome conversation with our co-founder, G.I. Jack. I'm actually going to go back to the Hope schedule and quickly look at the, they moved everything around, the schedule to see what's going on tomorrow, to see if we're going to pop into anything. So, let me just quickly check this. Yeah. Okay. So even though you don't have to anymore, we might be able to broadcast early and do the city walk thing. Unfortunately, tomorrow, besides Bia's talk that workshop that I might get into, we have nothing for the keynote or the lightning talk in order to stream in. Let's look at some others. We're not doing OINST. We're not doing Hackerspace. Let's see. We are doing the COBOL CTF. So what we might do is, okay, we might do one of two things. We might stream super early on Wednesday, and we'll stream the COBOL CTF, and then we will watch the keynote and do that. Or we might stream part of the COBOL CTF, then watch the keynote, then see the beginning of the phishing attacks for the Tech Learning Collective. So that might happen on Wednesday. Let's see. I can't remember if I registered for this. I don't think I did. But if that's going on, we will do that after Tiffany's amazing talk. So actually during the keynote is the Python thing, unfortunately. So that's going to be conflicting. So we might take a break from the keynote to do the Python Telnet workshop. So that's a workshop you might be able to see on air. Let's see. Not doing anything on Arduinos. And I have other workshops I've signed up for. I'm just trying to find ones around the keynote. I think I might have registered for the introduction for learning web applications. If I'd done that, we will do that during the last keynote and part of the lightning talks. So yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to look at a workshop today, but it's either Wednesday. Let's see, Wednesday, Friday, or Sunday, we'll go peek at a workshop. And depending on what time I picked it at, because I might picked it early, pun semi-intended, I did register for Lockpicking 101. It bypassed 101. So we'll see how that goes in the future, because I really want to observe and partially record how they are doing their streams, how they're doing the workshops, because I'm highly curious. But instead, what we're going to do is let's go back to our guide, and let's try to explore an aspect of hope. So we're going to do the lockpicking stuff some other time. We're probably going to do it next weekend. There hasn't been any uploading stuff for the Cyberpunk now. We are going to try to enter that before the 30th. I took a quick look at the parameters, but we'll try to do that then. So our real choice is depending on how it goes, the Anarchist Hacker Village. I don't know if that's currently up. I know that they're doing stuff on like Thursday and through Friday, so we might wait Thursday through Saturday. So we might wait Thursday through Saturday to then. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to try to look at the dim sum labs. Now, I actually don't have IRC installed on here. I don't think so yet. Let's find out. No, I don't. Oh, this is going to be fun. I might actually just set up IRC on its own here. I'm going to do that preliminary while we are going in. But in the meantime, after I... actually, let me load this in a different window. Let's attempt to go in, because I know they're using the same virtualization thing for Dim Sum Labs. They're using the Mozilla Hangouts, so I need to go back and put the link to that in here for the Village Labs. Let's see. Creating a Mozilla hub. Let's see. Maybe it's in their wiki. We're gonna figure this out right here while I go into a different browser and load up. And it's funny too, because I should be we're gonna wipe this computer anyhow. So I think this is gonna be like a temporary thing I'm gonna do. Or actually, here's a fun thing. Yeah, instead of going it through there, I'll actually load it in the browser. So in the future, we will have, okay. Their wiki is on GitHub. That's neat to know. Hope 2020. I'll actually load up Freenode. Not Feenode. That's the paid version. In the browser. Actually, you know what I'll do? Let's actually do the hex chat thing, because I'm gonna try to do something in here that's gonna be really fun and will actually be educational for everyone. Put the lock stuff down, since now I'm uber concentrated on this, and while things load, I'm actually gonna type up the stuff on Instagram, so give me a moment here. Yeah, titles are going crazy. Hang on. I have to look up something real quick. So we're going to scroll up. So I can never remember how to type his last name. Type in Tricky Dick. Post Keynote. Not pos Keynote. Post with a dash. There we go. So I'm going to do all the tags. Damn it. I've added to a series, and then I posted, so that goes on there now. So yeah, I'm actually going to configure hex chat while I figure out how to access their how to access their community here. So let's see, Hope. So it's confusing. I thought they were going to use the VR stuff, but turns out they might be doing, I think they're doing Big Blue Button, and they're using, they might actually be in the Riot chat, but we haven't been invited to that yet. So, yeah. Let's see here. Let's go back to hallway conversations. No, stop that. Really? You have to actually purchase HexChat on Windows 10. Nah, I'm using the 64-bit installer. Screw that. Go to downloads. Windows 10 app actually costs money. How bullcrap is that, right? Hopefully this won't crash the stream. So yeah, I'm going to accept the agreement. Install. You can install Winamp with it. Jesus Christ. Alright, we're just doing a base install because I'm going to have to reinstall this again anyhow. But while that's installing, let's figure out how they're actually doing everything. So, this goes to their workshop page. I'm assuming it's day 2. Ah! Guess I'm installing Python now. So let's see, there's a feedback button and an iCal, but unfortunately, it's just like so we just got put into an infinite loop. That's really what happens. So let's try the Big Blue Button. Actually, I need to let's open that up in a different tab. Worst comes to worst, we're gonna go in their IRC. So we'll enter our name. Side pocket, DC201. Hopefully that will work. Hasn't started yet, so they haven't turned it on. So what we're going to do is, because they don't know, I guess, what they're doing, we are going to do their IRC. Let's actually see what they say about their, okay, so there's all of that. Oh, they also have a Hack Me. There's a DSL wall. Okay, that's kind of neat. But yeah, let's get, so we just finished HexChat. And technically we could connect to base Freenode here. But I'm going to do something really fun. Freenode tour. Alright, we're having a bit of lag here, so just give it a bit of time. It's probably the Python install. And if I'm correct with how this works, and this is Dim Sum Labs, by the way, they're located in China. Jesus, actually, let's see, what's going on with the speaking? So, because if this goes on for too long, we might be able to... I'm really tempted to actually stream all the way until like 6, just to see Bia's talk. But I don't want to make this too incredibly long, so let's see. Yep, we are still one of the top search results for doing for explaining how to connect to Freenode through Tor better than actual their own tutorial and crap. Because that's literally how bad their tutorial is. I'll give a bit of background on this. I just need to get the USB stick, which is somewhere. I think it's actually currently, might be, no, it's not plugged into the other laptop. So I guess that's kind of good, although I really need to plug the laptop in. There we go. Ta-da. Now I'll put the lock-picking kit back. Yeah, once I find where I put the USB stick, which is somewhere, here it is. We're gonna do this. So this should be really fun. Unfortunately, part of the issue here is going to be I'm going to unplug the mouse, which is a big pain in the butt. So, a little bit of background on this guy. See, I already went for the mouse. As I wrote in here, I tried to, at one point, there's a way you can connect through Freenode through Tor. The issue with Tor is not with Tor itself, it's how Freenode did it. They're using a PEM token setup in order to properly do this. And they have a tutorial, but their tutorial on how to do it, their instruction set, is super bad. I also found 2 other independent tutorials. They were all bad. And the reason why they're bad is because each is missing a chunk that the other one has. And by the way, if anyone has any questions or comments on what I'm doing, please let me know. And all of them were missing one very crucial piece of information about setting this up. So even if you followed all 3 of those guides independently, you would still not set this up properly. So I was like, okay, let's do this. So I spent time not only trying to get Freenode to work on Tor, and then I finally got it to work, but also to make this blog post. It's like one of our most popular blog posts we've ever made about doing this. So I'm going to go through the tutorial real bit, and then I'm going to show you the shortcuts that I'm going to do because I already have a bunch of this set up. Is the first thing, you need to have 3 main things for this. You have to have an IRC client. We're going to use HexChat, which you will see later on when I do the display share. You're going to need the Tor browser, which I'm actually going to get running right now. Which normally, sometimes you can use either a third-party client, or if you're in Linux, you can actually use Toric and activate Tor independently. But in this case, running the browser will automatically make the Tor bridge that you will need for the IRC client to read. So as long as you have the Tor browser running in the background, everything should work. And then finally, you need to type in commands. With Linux, you'd be loading up your terminal. For Mac, there's the Mac OS command line. You can just, I have a whole guide here that you can click where to find it. Actually, let me just open it independently. Has some ads on it, I believe, but yeah, where to find it. It's going to take a minute to load because since it's a site that does Apple stuff, it uses way too much bloat. And so yeah, this is stop that. There we go. There's a whole guide here about, you know, where you can find the console on Mac and the base commands for it, which you don't really need because most of this you're going to be copying and pasting. And if you're on Windows, as you saw before, even though I'm not going to load it now, there's a program that's called Cywin. And what it does is it replicates Linux command. It basically replicates the Linux kernel. You can't run Linux apps in it, but you can run Linux commands. And so since these will all be Linux commands, you just load up Cywin, and then you launch the program, and you'll be able to do every single thing that I have in this tutorial here. So the first thing that you should actually technically do, if you haven't done so already, is you have to set up your own account with on Freenode. So you log into you go into HexChat, you log into the normal. In this case, I'm using HexChat. You're logging into the normal Freenode, and you are entering the you're registering. So you're going to message the NixServe and you're going to put a username and you're going to put an email and a password for the current username that you've typed in through HexChat, and it will register that on HexChat. So that's the first absolute thing you need to do. The first thing you need to do, if you already have that to set up with Tor, is you have to create a SASL token, or SASL, which stands for Simple Authentication and Security Layer. And the way you generate it is, first of all, you need to make a directive in here. Let's actually, what I'm going to do actually is we're going to use Cywin specifically for this. So actually, at this point, I'm going to do the screen. I'm going to do the screen share. So now you should see my entire desktop here, and away we go. Wrong browser. There we go. So I load up Cywin. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use this make directory command to, thank you, Jack, to basically add a folder in HexChat that's going to create certs. Ah, apparently that doesn't exist right now. Hang on. Let's close out of this. Let's try this again. Let's see here. Pretzel just came back to life. Let's see. All this to interact with the hope thing. Okay, it's not in this one. Here we go. So what we're gonna need is, let's see, just want to try this one more time, just confirm that the command's not working. It might be because of the way this is configured with Windows 10. Because again, I didn't do the setup on this machine. So I think we should be able to do the, because we're not going to do the actual PEM thing, but I should be able to create a new folder in here called certs, and they should work. Let me actually double check for something in here. There's all these dills. Themes. Plugins. Ah, I just went all the way out. Again, I should be able to, and I just want to check one last thing here. I should be able to just create a folder directly on the desk, in the actual HexChat folder. Let's see here. And just actually have a new folder called certs. So we're going to try that. If the operating system wasn't so slow right now. Let's try that again. It's loading stuff. Probably doing way too much right now. So yeah, new folder, we'll call it certs. Okay. And in a different folder, let's see which I'm going to bring up here. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to temporarily turn off the where are you? Display capture, just for some privacy measure for this particular part, even though we're going to eventually wipe this anyhow. And then I'll walk through the tutorial here. Basically what I'm doing is I already have a SASL file, a PEM token, and so I should be able to copy that into this folder, as well as the serve list, and everything should work. So let's find this here. It should be under F. Oh no, I put it in its own folder. That's why. So it's up here. So I think it should be under HexChat or something. Let's see. Yep. Here it is. This is the Freenode onion. I'm going to copy that into the other folder. God, I really hate this. I really hate this touchpad on this laptop, which is why I always prefer the mouse. If not, we'll just load up. If not, we'll just load up. We'll just load up the Freenode directly through the web browser, which is probably the easy thing to do. I just think it'd be really fun if we could connect this through Tor. If not, I already have it pre-configured on my other laptop, so I'll do the thing again where I just point the camera at it because, you know, we're all about high-tech stuff here at DEFCON 201. And the other thing, which is where I'm more confused, is the serve list. I'm going to try to import over. So let's see here. So it should be under S. Why can't it find it? Oh, it's doing that weird sorting thing. That's probably why. Bah! There it is. It's all the way up here. Jesus Christ. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out exactly what folder to put this in. Actually, let's do a search on here and see if it brings anything up. Okay, so instead of adding the serve list, we're actually going to do this manually, provided that I actually did everything correct. So let's move out of here. And we can actually eject the USB, and I can go back to the mouse where I like everything a lot better. There we go. And let's plug this mouse back in. See, it's not even that it's a Windows machine, because I've done this on Windows before. The issue is more of that I didn't configure this, so I actually don't know if there's like an admin ship permission that I missed or something here, because this again was not configured by me. So I should be able to turn the screen share back on, and we should be able to do the rest of this. So wrong browser again. Otherwise I'm gonna have to look up exactly what's going on. So normally you would enter into Cywin, and actually let me try to experiment here. CD where would this actually be? Hang on, let's open up the other window. Oh, that's easy. The reason why we do it on here in that way, unfortunately, is because OBS is the most stable with the most amount of features on Windows. Otherwise, we would be easily doing this on Linux. We don't get any of the pop-ups. We have way less control over the stream due to it. Now, obviously, what I could do is in the future, because again, the problem is that this was a quick configuration. What we're gonna do over the next couple of days, which we've been meaning to do for a week now, is we're going to wipe this entire machine and reset it properly from scratch. So things like the entire IRC client running and all the other stuff will be properly done. The main thing is VMs. So what I'll be able to do in the future is properly spin up Linux VMs inside of this, so that way when we do Linux stuff, I can do them through the VMs. As you probably saw if you were on Crypto Barons last night, we literally had to load really basic Debian back then because, again, normally we have the VM system set up and we didn't have it set up this time. So that's why we're like this. So the ideal thing we're going to mainly do is generate DM. So we're going to generate Linux inside of Windows while OBS is running, and that will pretty much be our whole thing for most of the streams, except for GI Jack's Archvile Linux perspective, because the whole point of that is that he's running his Arch Linux system. So, but normally what we would do is you would load up Cywin, and so when Cywin actually works, you'd make the directory for the certs, and then you would use this command, which uses OpenSSL, and would create the actual PEM file, and you would actually have to answer a bunch of questions in terminal. You just do them the best as you can, and then what it's going to do is use this command here, which will actually move that PEM token into the correct folder, and then you are going to, this is just some cleanup, and then when you enter, when you do that moving, it's gonna output the fingerprint, and you're gonna save that fingerprint. And then what you do is you go into the normal ClearNet free node, and you you log in, and then you use this command to nixserv to add the fingerprint of the SASL token. And then what you do is you spin up the Tor browser, and you configure it for Tor, including the free node Tor link. You're going to want to use SSL for all the things on the network. You're going to also want to accept invalid ones because sometimes it goes screwy. And then you configure the host name for Tor, which is the 127.0.0.1, then the 150 as now 150 as the port, and socks, and use proxy for all connections, and then everything should work. So we're going to try that. If it doesn't work, because again, I didn't configure this Windows 10 machine to be the way it is, we are going to just load Freenode directly on Freenode's website through this browser. But I just, if this does work, I thought it'd just be a nice, cool tutorial on how to connect via Tor. So that's like the normal ClearNet Freenode. What we're going to do is we're going to add a new network called Freenode Onion. I can also just show it on my other machine through the camera in a bootleg way. But we're going to enter that in, and we're going to edit it, and we're going to go in here, and we're going to add in the link, which I do have in the tutorial because they have a new, at least I thought I added it. Now that's their old one. They have a new one, but the old one should work, and we're just doing this as a one-time use, so let's add that one. So we're going to go in, connect server only, turn the SSL on, and we're going to change the login method here, so the key is the SASL, right? And we're going to, shoot, that didn't save. Forgot to enter. There we go. Turn that off. We're going to click close. We're going to hit edit again just to make sure it's saved everything. Okay. And we're going to connect, but it's not going to connect easy because this is the way HexChat kind of works. So what we're going to do is we're going to settings, preferences, network setup. Now we're going to set this up for Tor. So that's that, and then it's 9150 for the port. And then we're going to put it to SOCKS 5 and keep all connections. Sarez. I don't know what that means, person from DLive, but thank you for commenting. As long as you don't spam in here like the previous person, I have no reason to kick people out. Because I do have the adminship to do so. And we're going to go back, and I'm just going to double check that, and we're going to go to Tor, and the onion should work. Let's see. Search for check Tor. Because you can see I'm on normal DuckDuckGo. We haven't configured the Tor the way I wanted it. Stuff like that. So yeah, this is properly working through Tor. So let's see if this actually works. If not, again, we'll just either load it through browser, or I'll show you what it looks like on my stream later. So we're going to so it's going to reconnect again. Now it's looking for that. I'm actually curious about something. While that attempts to go, let's do a fun thing here, where I'm gonna attempt to. First I have to download this. Download. I'm gonna pick a spot. Let's go to downloads. That. We're gonna see if this works, because I think there's a weird sandboxing thing with the way Carousel did the adminship for this machine, which is probably why Cywin is not working for anything. But let's try it. Or maybe Cywin is just so basic that it doesn't understand. Let's try. Alright, so we're going to have to investigate why Cywin just doesn't want to work on here. Let's go back to Hex Chat. It's still looking stuff up. It's a little slow. I'm just going to recheck the settings again. In fact, what I'm actually going to do is we're going to disconnect. And we're actually going to go to Freenode's website, because I might... Why do I keep typing Freenode? This is like a subliminal thing. Oh, you're from Turkey. Nice. Barrett Ya 34 from DLive. So thank you for watching us, and hi there to Turkey from New Jersey in America. Let's go to Freenode's website. Let's see. They should have a link here about using it on tour. Somewhere in here. I actually might have to just type in. There we go. Yeah, that's the different, longer V3 onion. So I'm going to go into our network list. We're going to switch out. Double check. Okay. There we go. That work now? Yep. Now let's connect. See what happens. It's going to take a bit. Here we go. The Sassel thing didn't work. Yeah, I think it's the way permissions are done on this computer, which is why none of the Cywin commands aren't working. Because essentially Cywin doesn't have the permission settings that it needs. So when Carousel finally wakes up, I'm going to pick his brain about that. So what we're going to do instead is do the ultimate backup, and we are just going to load this through the web chat. Dim Sum Labs, all one thing. So, side pocket. Actually, I always have it lowercase. And put in the password, and when I put in the password for that, I'm going to temporarily take off the display capture just in case. Although I wonder who's deciphering the clacking of my keyboard to try to figure out what my password is. And then the channel is going to be, we're going to go back to the Dim Sum Labs. Actually, let's put in DEFCON 201. That would be a good landing spot. And then I should be able to use commands internally to move that. If not, we'll just do it all over again. But yeah, I'm now in Captcha Hell right now. So I have to figure out what are mountains or hills. There's always 3 pictures on these. Start. Don't save. Let's cross your fingers that this is going to work. I think it just did. Yep, so that's that. Let's see if I can type in... Yep, this is the web interface, so... Here we go. So now we're in here through the web stuff, and in fact, because of that, I can actually take off display capture and put back the browser capture on. We're going to make this bigger. so that everyone can see better. There we go. I'm going to actually do this because you don't need to see that sidebar there. I'm going to go in and be like, greetings. This is Side Pocket from DEFCON 201. We were trying to access your village, and it's very confusing. We read you might be using Mozilla VR or Big Blue Button, but nothing was working. We are live streaming this right now, so if you can explain what is going on, please let us know. And we'll see if anyone actually responds in here, because I know it's daytime in America, so it's probably nighttime over there because they are located in Hong Kong, China. So, but then again, these are also computer hackers, and computer hackers have a thing about staying up all night. So they might be like way up at night at like 5 a.m., like, you know, 4 a.m. in the morning, just because they're working on code stuff, especially since Hope's going on. So I just left that message in there. So currently they do have so apparently Dim Sum Labs has a Big Blue Button, and they did talk about, see, it's very confusing. This reminds me actually of Freenode all over again. So it's like they originally were going to use the Mozilla Teams, and then when I looked at their wiki, apparently they're using they were using the if we can go back here, for Hope 2020, the Big Blue Button, but the Big Blue Button does not work because it's not running. If I understand, I'm actually going to email them later to figure that out. And we're going, and but there's going to be a hackerspace village. So I guess once we get the answers for that, we will try again to access their village. If not, then you know, we're going to move on to other stuff. And unfortunately, like I said, a lot of the other hacker groups and stuff are not going to be ready until like this upcoming weekend, like up until like Tuesday or Thursday. So yeah, let's see. Oh, actually, I think the Anarchist Village is open. I was going to look at that tomorrow, but let's attempt to do a peek here, because I've never actually done this Mozilla stuff before. So let's try this out. So I guess it is running. So I'm going to close down the rest of this stuff so everything runs way more smoothly than it has to. I'll leave that alone. And then we'll end the whole stream. Oh, we got a response. Hey, Sidebaka, I'm not there, and I don't know the deal. Can you tell? I can tell you it's way too early for the Hong Kong team to be awake. Gotcha. We are running our live stream on Hope's EST schedule. We will message later today on non-live stream, and just do a spelling correction there, because I can't spell for beans, as anyone who knows me knows. I just want to let them know that we tried and it didn't work. But let's open up a new tab. Let's close off some of the more taxing things here. And even though we're probably going to end this, like, Bia's talk's going to be, well, I'm debating of actually streaming Bia's talk, because we're just only going to do the keynote. But, you know, I love Bia Sci Labs, her work ethic and her confidence and her content and stuff. So we might watch that, because I was going to just watch that, like, this is going to sound weird. I was going to watch that privately, like, not on stream, because she's a friend of mine, has been to the DEF CON groups before. So let's see. This is fun because I was actually going to see this tomorrow. So we're going to quick load this, and then I guess tomorrow we're going to explore the anarchist village, and then later on this week when they actually have like the movies and stuff, we'll try to watch them. So everything is still loading. Hopefully this does not kill the screen. It's loading way better than Rust at this point. I'll put it that way. Oh, I hear audio in here. It's almost there. This reminds me of Rust, where it was stuck at like the third to last process, and then it just killed the entire system. So cross your fingers. So if the stream ends up going dead, that's why. Actually, I can go back into. I'm gonna see if I can go back into Riot Chat. It's definitely now taxing resources of the browser. I can tell you that much right now. And I'm actually gonna kill the IRC. Yeah, I wondered just how much time zones would make the remote cons very weird. It does. I'm gonna put in talk to you later. Oh yeah, it's definitely using up the resources. So when we do the we're trying to close the Hope live stream and stuff for this. When we do the when we do this in the future, I'm definitely gonna have it be its own tab, just to make sure it has all the resources for this. So hopefully we'll see something. So if everything, maybe I guess everyone's trying to access the room at the same time. So, it's like the tech failures of last night are going into today. You know, the way Free Software Foundation works. See, I don't know if anything's going to load this time. I will say later on today, I'm going to do more private experiments to make sure that some of this stuff will definitely be working on the live stream in the future. So it's loading everything in again. Because after this, I have to do a ton of emails for the DEFCON group village and stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of work today, so... Yeah, thankfully, I'm going to have a big dinner tonight, and I don't have to live stream stuff until next Sunday, for me personally. I still have to look over, like, the chats. Hopefully, again, N Commander's show will hopefully be on, and things like that, but, yeah. And, of course, we're going to be doing these live streams every day for each of the keynotes. So it's going to be a whole ordeal. Working on the 6-pinner here. So we're back to the 56. Yeah, actually, I think I need to almost pretty much close all the tabs on here to make this work, so I'll have to reload into Riot before the end of the day today. See, that's what did it, yeah. That was eating up most of the resources, so yeah, now I know in the future I definitely need to make it its own tab. And I should also probably kill some other processes on here, but that's good to know. So we're attempting to enter the lobby. I'm also afraid, hopefully, there's not so many people trying to access it that's canceling out. Because that always could be a thing. It's like getting ShmooCon tickets. So we'll see about that. And as much as I would love to live stream the reaction to BS... You know what? I'm going to flip a coin on that or something. Because I really want to relax. I don't want the stream to also go ridiculously long either. But, I think it would be kind of fun to see BS talk live. So we'll just see how this goes. Let's see. Let's try an experiment. And again, what I should actually do is close down this other window here. Which I just realized I actually can't because there's things to do with that. So let's see how long this is going to take. See, this is when I really should have brought like G.I. Jack on to talk, because every time I don't think anything's going to take very long, it ends up like eating up most of the time. God, I really want a nap right now. It's just, again, I overslept too, so it's just like that shows you like how exhaustively busy I've been due to the Hacker Summer Camp stuff. It's absolutely freaking insane. It's just insane. And I'm mad too because since I overslept, that means I'm probably not going to post the blog of that other convention that's happening. But there is another convention going on right now, believe it or not. You know what I'm actually going to do is we're actually going to check out the other convention. So we'll do the VR stuff and everything some other time. I'm going to do tests tonight on this machine to make sure everything works so that next time we can actually do all that stuff. Let's find that out. I know, even though we're not logged in on here, let's go to our website. It is on our Twitter. I might have to scroll back a bit, but it is listed on our Twitter of the convention that's going on. So scroll back down. You want to quickly see something up here. No one answered our question up there, so I'm definitely going to have to go into chat for that. I know it's a post somewhere in here. It's below Bia's post. That's a creepy. That's just wrong right there. Press spider to select directory. I'll take a rain check on that. A little bit more scrolling and we'll find. I know it's somewhere down here because I remember we shared it very recently. That's why I wanted to make a guide for it. That's that post someone brought up earlier. We are having some network drama and debugging it. So let's see here. The conference. Our announcement that we'll be streaming it. Oh, come on. I know it's in here. Why is everything failing me today like it did yesterday? No. It's like I prearranged this stuff so fails won't happen, and instead other fails happen. I think that's like the summary of both DEFCON 201 and my life right now. Because I know it's before the Cory Doctorow stuff. It's probably buried in a tweet that I'm not seeing right now because my eyes are drooping. Let's see. 60 countries, Cyberpunk. Here we go. That's why I wasn't. Yeah, the HITBC SEC conference. It's like these multi-conferences where basically people get to vote on the type of content in the con. So if for some reason your eyes are drooping at Hope, this is also currently going on right now. Let's see here. There are events particularly called HITB Lockdown number 2. And we're going to post a guide about this, but I think it's basically going to end soon at some point because these are all running off of Singaporean times. So the last day is today. They have a virtual lab, the Discord channel, the live stream FAQ, car hacking village, the crypto challenge, which is all day, and the yesterday was the command and control challenge here. And they're using 2 YouTube streams, if I remember correctly. So I think we're actually early. So I think they actually haven't started yet. Because I don't know the time conversions because I haven't done it yet. But, okay, so they actually haven't, let's see. Or maybe I'm on different streams, let's see. This is today's stream. Or did it already happen? Maybe everything already happened. Well, regardless, there's another con that essentially you can check out. They're live on track 2, so I guess track 2 stuff is still going on. So, yeah, this is the other conference that's also happening at the same time as Hope. And then very shortly coming up is RightsCon. That's actually going to be the next guide that we are going to be doing. So, as much as Bia's talk starts in 10 minutes, and I would love to live stream my reaction to that, I think you should go over to the Hope streams, and we're going to restream that if you're on Twitch TV. So definitely check that out, because I really need a break from the streaming. But thank you all for coming in during the second keynote. We got to see a bit of the EFF talking about the Electronic Frontier Alliance and all the great work they and others who are part of that group like DEFCON 201 are doing. Then we got to see one of the main Hope keynotes for day number 2. And tomorrow we're going to be looking at another crazy dude, this Jaron Lanier, I think is how you pronounce it. And we're going to hear about his crazy ideas tomorrow. I don't think we're doing, if I look at the schedule real quick, I don't know if we're doing anything else around that. Let's go to Monday. Let's see. I might do part of the workshop for these advanced techniques, although then we would have an hour of doing nothing. No, actually what we're going to do is, so basically, let's see, 1, 2, so we'll be back here, so at like 1:50 we'll start live streaming, because I won't oversleep. I promise this time. And we'll see the keynote, and then we're either going to watch all the lightning talks, or I actually might be in one of the lightning talks, so this will be a fun experience to do. And we'll see how much this computer can handle during that. But so just show up at 1:50, and you'll see us here, and then we'll go check out. Actually, you know what? Let's go back. You know what? Let's do a different thing. So what I actually might do instead is we might show up, so 1:30, because we'll check out some Hope stuff before then. Then we'll watch the keynote, and then we'll do the lightning talk stuff, explore a little bit of Hope more, and then be done. And then hopefully I can see Bia's home lab introduction. If we watch all the lightning talks, I will actually go into her workshop if I'm allowed to, and we'll partly stream that. Also, don't forget that Radio Statler is also going on right now, and they're probably like shooting the crap and eating up all the time. They're at radio.hope.net. They have their own Discord, and they're running their own they're running a Jitsi in order to geez, really? I have to do this now? They age restricted it? Geez. Yeah, I have to do a ton of configuration tonight to make sure everything is way more smoothly tomorrow's day. But if you go to radio.hope.net, they're streaming their own unique content as well as rebroadcasting the main keynotes in addition to us. So I usually work with them every year. I kind of am working with them a little bit this year. It's just that I got really busy later on. So I guess in summary, let's go back to our website. That was our stream for the keynotes. Again, thank you all for... and let me readjust the display here. Boop. And then let's grow myself, which, you know, I'm an expert at, especially with my right hand. Extreme close-up, whoa! So, yes, thank you so much, everyone out there, for checking out this stream. I know it wasn't the most smoothest stream, but between, like, the internet errors and... some of the other stuff, but you know, we did get some stuff done. We saw the second keynote. I finally got G.I. Jack on here, who's always a real treat, to our other co-founder here, to talk about the stuff, shoot some stuff, and talk about our Hope experience and things. Hopefully, maybe tomorrow I might get Cyricel on here, but we'll see. Eventually, I'll get Cyricel on the stream, but he usually hibernates until like stupid o'clock in the afternoon, because he's usually up all night doing leet hacks. So that's kind of that. So I would say tune in at like 1:30-ish tomorrow. We'll do some Hope stuff, then we'll watch the keynote, then we'll watch the lightning talks. I might be in one of the lightning talks, and then we'll check out Bia's thing and see if any of the other villages are open. So again, thank you all for the stream. We're DEFCON 201. You can follow us at defcon201.org. That's the URL I'm pointing to at the bottom here. You can also follow us on all the social media we have listed here. Whether you're on Twitch, DLive, or YouTube, you can click on the subscribe or follow button to follow us. We love interacting with the chat and everything. This has been Side Pocket, my co-founders DEFCON 201, Dirty Jersey represent, made in Jersey City, hack the planet, and peace out. Thank you, and I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow for more Hope 2020. Stay tuned for the Twitch channel, because we're actually going to raid it right now. Actually, let me go do this on my phone to raid, because... No, wait, I actually have the browser open. What am I doing here? We can raid directly through the Stream Manager. I keep forgetting that. Provided if the Stream Manager actually loads. Because that's been a whole thing here. Getting rid of all these extra tabs. Oh yeah, it's definitely chugging now. Oh, we're not in stream info. Wait, I need to go in chat. There we go. So let's do... I'm trying to remember the name of the stream now. I can't remember the name of the stream. Now I'm gonna have to use my phone to look up what the name. Actually, no, wait a minute. I know I keep being like, wait a minute. We actually, our Ultimate Hacker Guide lists this. See, this is what happens when I oversleep. It's like when I have little sleep or too much sleep, I can't properly work anymore. There we go. See, this is why DEFCON's going to have a dedicated Twitch stream instead of the ISOC live, because no one's ever going to remember that in a million years. Oh, that's interesting. We actually can't raid the channel. Well, we can host it. Let's actually go in and let's look up, I'm going to send everyone in the chat to some other stream, but we are definitely going to still be hosting Hope here, and BS Talk is going to start in 5 minutes, so I should get off before she murders me. So I'm going back to channel. Let's see who is currently live right now that we're following that we can raid. Otherwise, I'll just end the stream and we'll just rehost the stream on our end. Let's see who's live right now. Let's see. It sucks that they can't raid because, like, that would probably get a lot more people if we were able to raid the DEFCON, the Hope 2020 stream. Let's see. Because I know Woke is not live right now. Oh, there's actually a Baby Castles thing going on right now. Let's raid Baby Castles. So the current base right here, we're gonna raid Baby Castles, and we're gonna then on our main channel on Twitch, we're gonna rehost the stream here. Let's see. And next time we are going to do some lemons. So yeah, we're gonna raid in a couple of seconds. Again, thank you all. This has been a Side Pocket from DEFCON 201. Make sure to follow or subscribe to us if you want to see more content from here. Hack the Planet, Dirty Jersey represent, and see you tomorrow at around 1:30ish for day 3 of Hackers on Planet Earth. Peace.